Okay, I'm going to call this regular meeting of the Marine City Commission to order on June 18th at 7 p.m. We have Pastor Bill here who's going to lead us in prayer, and immediately afterwards we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please rise.
Let us go to the throne room of grace. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight, and Lord, we are so thankful that you are involved in every aspect of our lives. So many times, Lord, we go through our lives and rushing and doing things and we forget you are there. But you have called on us not only to pray for our leaders, but to be involved and pray and seek your guidance and your direction. And when we humble ourselves and pray, you will come in and you will give that guidance and direction, and you will heal our land. So we thank you, Lord, that you are involved in every aspect. And tonight I pray for each and every individual that's here tonight, Lord, that they have elected here in this town to be our leaders. We pray that you would go to them and touch them and lift them up and give them the guidance and wisdom to lead us in this town. And we just thank you for that. So be with them tonight. We thank you for those who have came to get involved in this tonight, that you would touch them and lift them up. Lord, we just thank you for a town that still allows prayer at the beginning of their meeting to recognize that you are God, and in you and through you all things are possible. And I just praise your name for that, Lord. So tonight, Lord, as this meeting continues, would you be part and show us and guide us and direct us and move us towards where you would have us be as a community. In Jesus' precious and holy name, amen.
Pastor. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Scarlett.
Here.
Commissioner Avery.
Present.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Here.
Commissioner Lovett.
Here.
Commissioner Melly.
Here.
Commissioner Simpson.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Acting City Manager Tiller.
We do not have any communications this evening, so we're moving on to item 5, which is public comment. Residents are welcome, or anyone here is welcome to come to the podium, state your name, address, and keep your comments to under 5 minutes, please. Mr. Moran?
Good evening, everybody. Joe Moran, 710 Pleasant Street. I want to take this opportunity this evening to thank the mayor and the Marine City Commission for their service, and in particular for the foresight, the fortitude, and the courage in planning and passing the recent budget and approving the resolution for the special assessment. My wife and I are senior citizens. We live on a fixed income. We have a mortgage, medical bills, aging vehicles, and we appreciate sound financial management in our government. But we also recognize that the quality of life that we experience in Marine City and the financial investment we've made to live here will surely decline if the city fails to maintain its infrastructure or fails to meet its financial obligations. I believe the decisions the mayor and the commission have made with regard to the budget to be the result of their best efforts and in the sole interest in the future and well-being of Marine City. Additionally, I think it's imperative that the commission make every effort to inform the citizens of Marine City of the facts regarding the city's finances and the reasoning behind the millage. To allay the negativity, misinformation, and opinion masquerading as fact, I suggest that the city take out an ad in one of the local papers, quarter or half-page ad, to present the facts. For example, it needs to be explained that even though the fire department and the police department are covered in the present budget, the millage will release those funds to the general fund so that it can be used to continue to operate city services. Without this millage, the city faces almost $260,000 deficit. That's due to declining local, state, and federal revenues, despite making almost $430,000 in cuts to city costs. Since 2009, taxpayers on average have received about a 15% reduction in their city taxes. In addition, last year taxpayers also received just over 3% reduction in millage due to retired debt issues. The new millage will amount to less than 1/2 mil when compared to what they have previously paid. Finally, the average city homeowner's assessment of their property value is about $80,000, which is $40,000 in state assessed value. This equates to a daily cost of about 34 cents per day. That's about the cost of a medium-sized pizza a month. The ad could close with suggestions that residents could make good use of the city offices as a source of information and as a means of checking the, quote, facts that they receive from unofficial sources. I've found the administration of the city offices to be very friendly and very helpful, and I appreciate their service to the city. I checked earlier this afternoon with The Voice, and I have some figures about what it would cost to run an ad. Be happy to share with you after the meeting. And I know you guys aren't rolling in dough, so I'd be happy to make a contribution to help offset the cost of the ad. So thank you very much for your time.
Do you have anybody else like to address the commission? Seeing no one, we will move on to the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion that we amend the agenda under number 15, closed session, A, B, and then it should be C. And we'd like to add D, a discussion on possible city manager contract. No?
Commissioner, I don't think that would be a proper subject for closed session.
Okay.
And if
you
we're
want that to-
negotiating the amount of the
Yeah.
offer?
Well, yeah.
I think
Because
that,
if you negotiate that in public, you're,
I think that the administration can be instructed to develop a proposal. Obviously, it would have to come back to the commission for ultimate approval, but I think that the commission might be able to discuss with the administration
the plan is
parameters.
to discuss the amount of an offer to a candidate.
What we want to offer.
What we'd like to offer, and I don't think that would be a great thing to do in open session.
I don't think it's an appropriate subject for closed session.
So how will we do that, I guess?
I think the
Well,
We have the committee do it?
We can add it to I guess we'll just have to discuss it when it comes up in the regular rotation of the agenda.
Well, we need to add it to the agenda.
It's, well, we do have the discussion on the agenda for the city manager. It's under new business.
C.
9C.
All right, well, let's just-
Yep, it's under, unfinished business, 9C. So we just have to have that discussion at that time, but I disagree with you, I think, but I'm not a lawyer.
There are very specific parameters that,
Well, if we were gonna buy a piece of property, we could have that discussion in closed session, correct? About what our offer would be
for the acquisition of property.
for the acquisition of property.
I believe it's the sale or acquisition, one or the other, but not both. I don't have that handy, Your Honor.
Well, to me, this is the same thing. If you negotiate, if we discuss what we're going to offer and the basis of our negotiation is revealed, we're kind of weakening our position in those negotiations with that person.
I think that the administration can be instructed to operate within some parameters, and obviously, any sort of proposal would have to be approved by the commission ultimately. And I think that's where that negotiation should take place, is in the back and forth with the candidate.
Well, I'm gonna have to
how
defer to
does he
you.
know what to offer?
I think that the commission can give the administration some parameters. Maybe it's something that's consistent with what the previous city manager was earning. It's some sort of indication along those lines.
But
Or simply to engage the nominated candidate in some sort of a discussion about what his or her demands would be.
How do we know what that amount's going to be?
That is another way to do it. You simply say, what do you want?
What do you want?
And then we go from there, but, yeah, I'm a little surprised by this, but that's,
Yeah, because I always thought in the past they did them that way.
I can't change my answer. I don't think it's appropriate
well,
topic.
and we
for-
have to, defer to our city attorney, that's what we pay him for.
Let me ask you this, can we defer it to the committee to work with him, to come up with
Sure.
type of?
That would be fine if the committee's
That's
still in place.
basically what I discussed with Chief earlier today, that we should just have the subcommittee engaged in the negotiations.
All right, and then bring it back to the board?
Yeah, ultimately, it's going to have to be reduced to writing, and that would be the time, I think, at which,
Then you can do it in,
yes.
gotcha. All right,
All right, so we can't.
We're not doing it.
So
Okay,
so we're looking to approve the agenda as
As presented.
presented.
With the exception of that, numeral,
Yeah,
that letter.
the one
yes.
correction.
So make a motion that we accept the agenda with the addition of the changing of the extra B to a C.
Or,
We have motion and support. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's been approved. Moving on to approval of the minutes, we have, first one up would be 7A, which would be the City Commission special meeting in May 27th.
I move to approve the minutes from our special meeting, May 27th, 2015, as presented. Second.
We have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item 7B, which is the regular meeting, the minutes from June 4th.
Make a motion to approve the City Commission regular meeting minutes of June 4th, 2015.
The motion and support. Any questions or corrections, discussions?
just a quick one, on page 7, when I asked about why the fire department sirens weren't working, can we put like a brief response? I think, we were still working on it, but I found more information out, so I'll deal with that later. Okay.
Anything else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 7C, which is the City Commission special meeting of June 11th.
I move to approve the minutes from the special meeting, June 11th, 2015, as presented.
Support.
The motion support. Any comments or discussion on those minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes have all been approved. Then we have the consent agenda. We have item 8A, which is departmental activity reports. Item 8B, which is Marine City Fire Authority run report. Item 8C, which is a special event praise in the park. Item 8D, special event movie and concert in the park. Item 8E, special event International River Crossing. Item 8F, business license for Grace Production Services.
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented and place on file.
Support.
The motion is support. Did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. A comment, trying not to be a pain, but on the business license application for Grace Production Services, I have no problem at all with having business come into town. That's great. But the form looks like it kind of got shorted. In there, they say that it's a plastic injection molding manufacturer. They only have one part-time employee, and they have no flammable or toxic materials stored in the building. I just thought that maybe
They
that's
might
kind of
have
a strict.
something?
They might have something. In other words, probably this needs to be checked over, or just,
I could have the fire department and the building inspector check on that.
I mean,
yeah, it just
aren't
is
those
incomplete.
inspections done before the business license comes to the board?
Then the business license, we push it through to get it approved, but nothing is, I don't issue the business license to them until the it's checked out. Sometimes we're held up by the board, so I
Well,
present them to you.
we might want to rethink that, because I've just applied for a business license, and I have to go through building inspection, fire inspection, and then it goes to the board.
Okay.
Because if there's any issues at all, we should know about it before we approve the thing. So I would recommend we think about adjusting that procedure.
Yeah.
I don't suspect any problem.
I'll
This
bring
is an
this
industrial
back.
building, it's been used before, but the form wasn't finished.
Well, they're gonna look into that, and I guess the only thing is the fire department should know if there's anything special on the premises that they need to know about. That'd be about it.
So should this be pulled out?
I don't, yeah, what would happen if,
I can represent it with this.
Yeah, let's just-
I mean, because you don't want them running the business and then we find out they're not in compliance with
I-
certain things.
it sounds like a fairly small operation. He's
Yeah,
got
but-
one
The reason
part-time
why I put it
employee.
in here is because we're not going to be having a meeting until the middle of July, but if you want me to pull it out.
Well, he can still operate in the meantime, can he, or can he not? When did he want to open?
I didn't get that information from them. I wasn't there when the term was in.
You know what, I think,
I know Mr. Klingler's been working on that quite a while with them, and it's an established business that actually is
Okay.
doing some prototyping and moving a business. So I think on
I
a
think, you know,
paperwork technicality, it seems like our procedure will naturally take care of this. I wouldn't want to postpone someone who's moving a
Right.
business or.
No,
I agree with
yeah, I'm in
that.
favor of approving the license for now, and if there's an issue with the fire hazards or whatever, that'd be addressed by that inspection, and you'll have to make corrections. Right? Right.
Correct. Well, but in the past, I don't issue the actual business license until they've done all the inspection
Right.
that's been approved. But if you want me to-
I think that should be the very last step, is everything should be done before it comes to us. That's would be my recommendation, so we don't have these kind of discussions.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I just wanted to point out on the International River Crossing, last year, I commented on the mess that they left the prior year.
And I didn't communicate.
And they did a real nice job last year of picking up, and I'd just like to give them that reminder again this year. It's a good opportunity for them to teach all these Girl Scouts about stewardship and, you know, picking up after yourself and not just stuffing our cans full, but bring your own garbage bags and fill them up, and it'd be a good lessons for all the girls
And the parents.
and the parents. All right, with that being said, anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to unfinished business, we have item 9A, which is adopt ordinance to water and sewer rates.
I make a motion to adopt the ordinance 04-2015, water and sewer rates.
Support. A motion and support. Is there discussion on this topic? We talked it over pretty good at the last meeting, so. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
We have one nay, I think I heard.
Two.
Two nays.
It sounded like you said aye. I'm sorry.
Moving on to item 9B, which is board appointments. First one up is, what do we got first one on that? Do you have that handy?
Yes, I do. Here you go.
Planning Commission. We have 3 applicants for 1 vacancy. We have Rosalie Squires, we have Joseph Moran, and Kathleen Moran.
I make a motion to appoint Joseph Moran to the Planning Commission.
Support?
The motion and support. Is there discussion? Lisa?
Isn't Rosalie currently on the board?
She is. She's reapplied.
Okay.
There are some issues there if you wanted to go into them.
Well, I just want to make sure that we don't discourage people, that's all.
There's been an attendance issue and delinquent taxes.
There's several meetings missed. There's also 2 meetings missed unannounced that we weren't even able to have a quorum to meet. So not just her, but other folks that are no longer on the board as well. So it's not just 1 or 2.
Okay.
And some other issues as well.
Is there anything else on that subject? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Welcome to the Planning Commission.
Thank you, and thank you.
Moving on to the Tax Increment Finance Authority, we have 2 vacancies with Craig May and Fred Babchek, or is it Bud Babchek? Both reapplying.
I make a motion that we accept the applications of Craig May and Bud Babchuk. Get it out.
A motion and support. Any discussion on those appointments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? What, get your job back. Marine City Fire Authority, we have 1 vacancy. Mr. Mark Posey, that's a reapply.
Make a motion to appoint Mark Posey to the Fire Authority Board.
Support?
Motion and support. Any discussion on Mr. Posey? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Posey, for reapplying. Library Board has 2 vacancies, and we've got Fred Babchek and Jill Shield. Is it Shield or? Shield. Both applying.
Make a motion to appoint Bud Babchuk and Mr. Shield.
Jill.
Jill.
Jill Shield.
Jill
I
Shield.
know, I took your sheet.
I don't have a Shield.
I support.
Those 2 people to the library board.
Support. See, I could have done that, but instead I took yours because I didn't want to flip around with this thing. But I
You
should have.
notice that, yes.
Yeah. Any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Again, thank you, Mr. Babchuk.
Now I get it back.
On to item 9C, which is city manager interview discussion. So we were all at the special meeting. We have our score sheets. That wasn't, are the score sheets in the packet?
No,
They're just emailed.
I have an extra copy here if anybody needs one.
So I know that we had a subcommittee with the alternate do some Skype interviews of 2 candidates that I guess we're kind of focusing in on 2 of the 4. You would have a report on that second interview?
Yeah, the second interviews, which would be round 3 interviews. Joyce did the first ones. We, as a group, did the second ones. These are the third round interviews. It was with Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Radshaw. I thought they went quite well. Mr. Hoyt interviewed via Skype. Mr. Radshaw was available via phone. So we interviewed via speakerphone. It was a nice opportunity to get to know both individuals better. We used that STAR tactic, and especially in the case of Mr. Hoyt, that was a little bit of a different tactic because he got that very last minute. He knew essentially in a 24-hour notice that he had to find a way to get from Louisiana to here to partake in that, and that was it's a difficult format if you're not familiar with it. So it's nice to be able to have a different format, more of a back and forth conversation to really understand both candidates more. It's a different tool than the STAR calibration that we used, and I think it really showed that we have 2 strong candidates right there that to work from.
I agree with Commissioner Simpson. It just was a much more relaxed atmosphere, and I thought gave us a better understanding of the 2 candidates that we were looking at, and thought that it went very well. Good process.
Did you want to?
No, I took a lot of notes on, I think we all did, but yeah, it was a much better format. You got to hear more about how they did things, or even some of their background in general, which we didn't have a chance to do. And then we also gave them opportunities to ask us questions about what they wanted to know about the community. But all in all, both of them went pretty well.
So, is everybody comfortable with weeding it down to those 2, being Redshaw and Mr. Hoyt?
I'd say what we discussed in the subcommittee after the interview process was that these are the 2 individuals, at least based on scoring, that represented the close median of all the numbers from the STAR format scoring. So it would make sense to pursue both of them based on that. And I think they're pretty close, each unique in their own way, but I think both would be strong candidates.
And Mr. Stewart scored the highest, just so everyone knows, but I think personality-wise, he probably wasn't the best fit for the city. I like these other 2 gentlemen's demeanor a little bit better. I think they'd be work better in this city. Let's put it that way.
And I think we all loved Elaine, but we think she just needs a little bit more.
Yeah, if she got a department head somewhere or something that had a little experience.
She'll be a real good candidate in the future, yeah.
Yeah, it needs a little experience handling personnel.
For that matter, I felt all of our interviews that we have done over the past few weeks have been quite strong. I feel that our whole process has served us well to date.
Well, I made some calls myself and reviewed my notes, and personally, my personal recommendation would be for Redshaw.
I support that one.
And Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a recommendation on your own?
I'm okay with that.
Mr. O'Malley?
Well, as I was reviewing my thoughts, and I took it very seriously, one thing that impressed me with Mr. Bradshaw is that he was able to realize he was behind the time, and as he went through the format, he hit the point right on, and he seemed like an individual that is eager to get going, and I tend to favor Renshaw as a candidate for that factor alone. And then I had a little talking to him in the parking lot, and his wife was shopping around town, so they're really like to get involved in our community. I felt very comfortable just talking with them on a personal level, in the sense just communicating to them as an individual, and I felt very confident in them. And that's my recommendation.
Does someone want to make a motion to instruct,
I will make a motion to tender an offer to Brian Redshaw, subject to our salary negotiation, of course, and then have an open. If that doesn't work, then we will use the other, or deal with Hoyt.
the initial offer is going to be made by Joyce after we give her the...
I talked to Joyce today about that, and she said she would make the offer of employment, but in the negotiation should be, she can carry them out, but they're more aptly carried out by us.
Do we have support for that motion?
Support.
We have motion and support. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, that's right, we have to have some discussion here.
Just a little bit more.
Sorry.
I mean, I like the two. The only reason why I kind of like Mr. Hoyt a little bit better is because he stayed in one place a lot longer. Mr. Redshaw seemed to move around a lot, and that's my only concern other than that. But I kind of thought Mr. Hoyt was a little bit better fit for our community, more laid back, and had a lot more. He had a lot more experience in the grants and a lot of other items, but it's the board's choice.
He's definitely a very experienced and qualified candidate, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would say we would be successful with both candidates.
Yeah, and we might, who knows, we might end up there shortly.
Yeah, both candidates had a lot of municipal experience, particularly supervising utilities. All of them had some form of grant writing experience. I would, to play devil's advocate, I would say the one negative thing that I discovered through these third round interviews with Mr. Radshaw is he admittedly had not a lot of historic preservation or historic property management experience. Other candidates tended to have that. That's one of the follow-up questions that we asked. And a bit of a concern based on some of the properties we have in Marine City, but certainly any candidates can have any shortfalls and strong falls too. But that's one item that was in my notes that developed during that interview.
I mean, the fact that we had two, well, actually, three candidates with this type of experience and education was very impressive.
Yes.
And I think, the other advantage we're going to have with either one of these candidates is that they both live out of state, so we have a really good chance of them actually living in or very close to town, which would be a plus.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a recommendation if the board would entertain doing a primary and a secondary? If somehow negotiations fall through, we don't have to come back to the board for a vote to approach the second individual.
I don't have a problem with that, we just have to amend this motion.
Oh, I was leading that way, but I didn't state primary. I said if that didn't work, we would.
All right.
So I will be happy to amend it to indicate that our primary offer would go.
Be tendered to Mr. Hoyt.
No,
Redshaw.
Redshaw, primary.
A primary and the secondary would be
Secondary.
Mr. Hoyt.
Secondary.
I thought we were talking about the secondary.
Support.
So we have motion support on the amendment to the agenda. Any discussion on that?
Ask one more question. In the course of the interviewing, I believe, Don, that you mentioned that once we narrow it down to a candidate or two, we'll do our own investigation. Is that would you be doing that, or would the M&L be doing
I have
further?
the MML, I talked to Joyce Parker today, and she said the price includes, from the MML, includes an investigation. And I asked how thorough it was, and Joyce's opinion is it's very thorough, but a chief of police opinion of very thorough, and the MML's opinion of very thorough are probably not congruent. So I would like to look at her investigation, and if I don't feel it's sufficient, I would like to have an investigation that we run, not me personally, but I have a firm that has interviewed multiple city managers and is very good at it that I'd like to use.
I would like to support
Is that a separate motion?
Well, let's wrap up the motions. We have, because before we move off of this, we're going to have to discuss the offer. Tenor, that'd be another motion.
Should we do this via roll call?
There's no money involved, we don't
No,
have
but the
to.
importance of it.
It's fine, if you'd like a roll call. Now, we're voting on the amendment to the motion.
And can I ask, was it Commissioner Lovett, did you second that amendment?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yeah.
Commissioner Lovett,
Yes.
Commissioner Melly,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Skatardi.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And now we'll just move into a roll call on the original motion as amended.
Commissioner Hendrick,
This
We
is,
just voted.
all we did was vote for the amendment to the motion.
The amendment was
okay,
to add the
gotcha.
alternate, this would be
Right,
the motion.
now we're voting on the motion as amended.
Yes.
I know, it gets a little too much after a while.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lovett,
Yes.
Commissioner Melly,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Mayor Skatardi,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now,
Now, do I make a motion?
I would,
You could make a motion right now if you would like.
sir, I would say that the price of the investigation is within my purview as city manager. So if you would simply give me direction that if I review the MML's report and don't find it suitable to take appropriate action, I could at my own volition.
What he said.
Support.
I think that's in our best interest. It's a totally
Well, yeah.
important decision, and I think that, you know,
Right.
we feel at any stage of the game that the process is
So
adequate.
the
that we should-
motion is to authorize the acting city manager to follow up on the MML investigation if he feels it's deficient in any way.
Yes.
yes.
And we have support on that?
Did.
Yes, support.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So you are so authorized
Thank you, sir.
to do your police chief's best.
Okay, so now what about the subcommittee thing?
Well, now we have to figure out what the offer is going to be. So we can either leave it totally up to the subcommittee to negotiate that, or we can give them some direction right now.
I'd like to offer maybe a starting point of conversation on that. When we published the posting, there was a total compensation range that was indicated in there. So I think that could be divvied up 100 different ways depending on a candidate's needs. Some may have benefits from elsewhere, some may require more expenses or used to something else. I would hope that we would stay within that published range, and that negotiation maybe would include what that looks like. You know, a candidate that needs no other benefits may be offered a higher salary, or someone that needs a lot of benefits such as healthcare that tend to be expensive and a change from year to year might be offered a lower salary, but it's still within what we published, and perhaps what are some historical data we might have from our previous city manager.
You would request that, sir, it should be in your text.
Okay.
I think I'm going to take off of what Mr. Downey said. I think our first step at the subcommittee would be to approach them as what do they want, and get a feeling for how far apart we are, and then come back with a counteroffer. And then, you know, it could be structured, like you said, any way. If they'd rather have more in benefits and less in salary, or vice versa, you know, that could all be part of the negotiations.
I also think what we should talk about too, separate from that, both candidates live out of state, so it would not be at all uncommon for someone to offer moving expenses. And I think we should address that. That is a separate issue, of course, than compensation, so I think at some point we would want to have that, a conversation on that, because I'm sure that would come up sooner than later.
Well, usually they ask for that if they want it. I mean, they'll,
I would assume that they're both would ask for that, since they're,
That's not something we've discussed in this
No.
process.
but it's been done in the past, the last, before John.
Michael Nagy received moving expenses,
Yeah.
yeah, do you recall?
5,000.
5,000. So, we do have an apartment available over at 300 Broadway. What about that?
Heating bills are a bit steep.
No windows either.
So I guess my big concern is, when is the committee gonna meet?
Well, I think right now we could authorize, Mr. Tillery to approach them for their initial,
See what they want.
requests, and then have a meeting early next week, I would think,
Okay.
Sounds good.
of the subcommittee.
Joyce Parker's waiting for my call after this meeting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good to see what they are looking for, and then I'm sure we'll be, from what I saw, both those gentlemen's backgrounds, they're probably going to be a little bit higher than what we set initially as our range, so we'll have to work on that. So I don't recall, I don't think we need a motion or any action at this point, so I think we're good.
Okay.
And if everybody's satisfied, we can wrap this item up. All right, good. We'll move on to item 9D, which is the St. Clair Sheriff's Department bid request. I met with Sheriff Donnelly and Bill Graytop. We sat for about an hour, and it was a good meeting. We discussed all aspects of the county operation, what advantages Sheriff Donnelly thought he could provide. We talked about a lot of things like detective services and extra help and deputies and all that kind of stuff, and worked all that out. And basically, there's no extra charges for any of that type of cooperation from the county once they are providing deputy services for a city. He also disagreed with you, Mr. Downey, on the role the union plays in that, where he says they can protest it, but he's never seen them actually be able to prevent it.
Well, I would disagree with Sheriff Donnelly respectfully. It'd be an unfair labor practice to impose that on the union.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you how the discussion went.
That's fine.
They did have, I think he said they had some issues in IRA that they had to work out with the union, but he says they're usually not too hard to work out. But at the end of the day, he said that he really can't save us any money if he provided services. He didn't actually want to give me specific numbers. He just said that unless we're going to cut back somehow, he doesn't see how there would be any savings. And he also told me he would not be interested in providing us with a proposal because, well, you've got the letter. He just isn't interested in it. And I did try to persuade him otherwise, and he respectfully declined. He just said he's not going to do it. And Mr. Graytop said he sat in on several meetings like this, and he's heard the same story repeatedly from the sheriff. So it's not just Marine City. Commissioner Avery?
Since it's a short letter, and this is an important subject for the record and the TV, it might be wise, I suggest you read the letter, or somebody read it, so that it's known.
Well, who has the best reading voice here? Okay. Do you have the letter?
I have the letter, okay. Mayor Skodarczyk, I'm sorry.
Next.
The St. Clair County Sheriff's Office would like to thank you and the City Commission for considering our agency for your law enforcement services. We consider it an honor to be asked to provide police protection to the citizens of Marine City. After meeting with you and discussing the possibility, we are respectively declining to prepare a proposal for law enforcement services. We have maintained a policy of not entering into negotiations with municipalities that have a functioning police force. We strive to work effectively with the current Marine City Police, and providing an offer of service could jeopardize that working relationship. In addition, a brief review of the current budget for the Marine City Police Department has revealed that our agency could provide police coverage similar to what you have. However, the cost savings would be minimal. If the situation in Marine City were to change, we would be happy to meet and discuss this possibility further. Again, thank you for the honor of considering contracting with the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office. Sincerely, Tim Donnellan, St. Clair County Sheriff.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, it was a very pleasant meeting. He's a very nice man, and it was a very upfront conversation. He wasn't, pulling any punches. He wasn't playing any games. He was just being very honest. I appreciated that. And I got to know him a little better, so that was a good thing. And so unless there's any questions on that, it kind of wraps it up. Basically, the story that at the end of the day, when I asked him again to give us a proposal, he just says, well, if anything happens to your police department, if you're, would lose your chief or have some kind of controversy or be forced into like almost a bankruptcy type situation, then he would consider it. But under the circumstances, he thinks we're fine the way we are, and there's not much he could do for us. All right, moving on to item 10A, which is a request for the Titanic plaque in Drake Park. I don't know. Would you like to come up to the podium and explain this a little bit?
I can try.
All right.
I didn't want to read it all, but you each have a copy. I don't have it, actually. My printer broke. So basically, it's just...
To refer to?
No, not really. Dan and I have a group, and it's not like a legal group yet, but it's a Great Lakes Titanic Connection. There were 71 people that was aboard the Titanic that was coming to Michigan to live and to work. And we don't, from what we've seen in research, we do not have what I call a proper Titanic memorial for anybody. And years ago, when I wanted to do something like this, somebody, a couple people said, why Marine City? And I said, why not? Well, I wasn't as crazy as a lot of people thought, because guess what? Titanic's coming to Marine, or it's already here, I think. So, having said that, I'm a member of Titanic International Society, Titanic Historical Society, and other groups, and I do have some people even out of state that's kind of interested in helping us get a proper memorial here. So we were starting out, we're checking about how much it would cost to have a bronze plaque made. Actually, Dan wanted to have all 71 people name on it, but that is going to prove to be quite expensive. But yeah, we would like it to possibly put a plaque in Drake Park by the anchor. I think that's kind of symbolic. And we kind of even looked at a bench, if that would be acceptable to anybody. It would serve kind of like a dual purpose. I spoke with Bill Daniels and Gary Beal today, and they even thought that might be a good idea if it's accepted by the commission. It's not going to, whatever we do is not going to look gaudy. It's going to be professional, and it's going to be professionally done. And I am going to try to seek out some donors. And I know a couple of people who's great Titanic fanatics in this town. So, so that's what I'm asking is if you guys would approve us doing something there, very nicely done, which will actually complement the Mariner, because it's where the Titanic could be, And we could just have the memorial, so to speak, in the Mariner, but they're going to be open on the weekends. They're not going to be open all week, and there's a lot of people who come during the week to see the lighthouse. And, and I want something, I mean personally, but that anybody can come anytime, day or night, and get their picture taken by that memorial. It will draw people in. I cannot tell you how many people, I mean, they have Titanic dinners, they have Titanic tea parties. It could be a huge draw, not only for the city, but for the Civic Women's Club. Any group could benefit from this, as well as the city. So I do have some people from out of state that's interested in coming, for the dedication. I've just got to get the okay, and then I can start getting, people together for the donations and figure out exactly what we're going to do and go from there.
I would be in favor personally of approving that contingent on actual, seeing of what the final product's going to be.
Right.
Commissioner Hendrick?
I don't have a problem with it either, but yeah, we have that process that we start with the rec department and they work with Mike, and then you would develop, what you're gonna do. So you'd
Right.
start with Lynn and then they'd all work together, and then
Okay.
eventually it would come back to us for the final approval of
Okay.
what you put together.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
The
it's a good
biggest, I just want to say, the biggest problem that I have right now at this point is it's time sensitive. Because we'd like to, as the Great Lakes Titanic Connection, to try to have something to be able to dedicate the day of opening of the Maritime Days and the Mariner. Maybe before the Mariner opens, and then people who might be coming for the dedication can go over to the Mariner, because they're going to be
Be your
opening
second.
that day as well.
Yeah,
so.
there would be time for that, because we have the second meeting in July.
Okay,
If you could get it all put together and work with them,
okay.
we could
Yeah.
approve it by.
Yeah, we have to have some
Some-
notion of
Oh,
what
no,
it's gonna be.
I totally we're looking at plaques, and if I get a plaque around here, it's 4 to 6 weeks, which I think that puts me past August 1st. So I do have a place down in Florida that's 10 days. So, depending on, how much I
Probably
can
have
do.
about 2 weeks after the next scheduled commission meeting.
Okay.
To work that,
Yeah,
provided that's approved.
I
okay.
mean, even if you got an artist rendering from the company you're going to
Yeah,
purchase from,
anything.
I mean, just
Right, yeah.
anything, to just say this is what it's going to look like.
And where
Okay.
you want to put it in the park and the whole thing. Like I said, I know Lynn, and they know how to get you through the process.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I don't have a problem that we,
There is I don't know if this would work for you, but there is a sign placard already in the park that the sign's been destroyed. And it's a
Oh,
nice
really?
metal stand, but it's a little low. It's in that corner garden. You might want to just take a look at it.
Okay.
It would be like the southeast corner of the park. There's a garden.
Okay.
There used
Yeah,
to be
I've seen that.
a sign there, but there's a very substantial metal stand that's still there.
yeah.
And
Okay.
it's a pretty big placard, about this big.
yeah. Well, like I said.
That might save you, I'm just mentioning that because it might save you some money.
Yeah.
if you take a look at that.
Well, now, could that be
Moved?
moved and put in front of by the...
Possibly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's probably got a cement, anchor footing,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, that's why you work with the rec department and Mike
Right.
to figure out all the detail, and then,
Yeah, because I have no idea what I'm doing with that. I just throw stuff together, and sometimes it works.
Commissioner Simpson?
The only thing that I can think of that might work against this would be, I'm not necessarily familiar 100% with the history of the anchor. If that, I know oftentimes that groups work really hard, like yourself, to bring these monuments and everything to the parks. and
The
then-
anchor was salvaged by scuba divers.
Okay.
And there is a placard on the anchor right now. That might be the only issue.
I just
Okay.
wouldn't want to.
No, there's not a planker on the anchor.
We didn't
No.
see anything.
I want to
that-
make sure that the folks that brought that anchor to be or not, that they compliment.
You know,
one
I
another.
I was getting the propeller confused with the anchor.
Yeah,
The
no, that's
propeller was
rotary
set.
part.
I think in this case, no one's going to confuse that as coming off the Titanic.
No, that's not where I'm going at all.
Yeah, I
My
know.
point is
You never
that
know.
people worked hard to maybe bring that
You don't wanna
as a
offend them
monument
that-
displayed,
Yeah.
and then this is altering their hard work potentially. I just don't want, I don't know the history of it to comment on that, 20,
Would you
30 years
find
down the
out?
road.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want someone doing that to your display or
Oh, absolutely.
anything, so I'm not as familiar with that
Mr.
piece.
Etrich, do you know where that anchor came from? You've been here forever.
Just showing up one day.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know if you read the whole thing, but my initial thing, was to have a fountain, a drinking fountain, which was kind of symbolic because the ocean took life, a lot of life, and this could be, if we have visitors and such, they could come and they could get a drink of water, and then people who walk their dogs. When I had my business, I seen people pull up in motorhomes and, they would take their dogs for a walk in a park and that, and I just thought that would be really cool to have a trough down there for the dogs with a plaque on it, which was, would be very cool, but that could get into.
From the Sweet Tooth, he had a great aunt that was on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Did you talk to her? You should talk to him. It's in that family.
No, I didn't, but I know Bernie Whalens, if anybody's familiar with Bernie Whalens, his uncle was the 140th person that was recovered from the icy waters.
She knows all about the anchor.
Yeah.
Can't think of her name right now.
My only thought is to do some sort of diligence just to make sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful project, I'm all for it,
Thank you.
but just to make sure that we're
Yeah.
not doing anything to interfere with that previous donation.
I'm pretty sure Cheryl Zimmerman?
Okay, yeah.
At the chiropractor there?
I think she takes care of that part.
She knows all about the anchor.
Yeah,
Okay.
she kind of led the crusade to paint it a
Yeah.
few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she could fill you in.
Yeah, I mean, if not, then maybe
And if
we could
anybody in
look
town
for-
was gonna get upset with you putting a plaque there, it would be her. So that, she's adopted that park.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll go and I'll see her and, she's usually a pretty
I also
decent
think there's
person.
probably a lot of gray area to explore
Yeah.
about how they can complement one another too. So-
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too, is placing it in that particular spot as opposed to where the fountain, I thought, by the lighthouse, because there was a lot of people that would come and get their picture taken by the lighthouse, so, especially on Mondays when a lot of places were closed and such, So it's just an observation from when I
So
had
can
my
we make a
business.
motion to give her like tentative approval or something?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
We're in favor of the idea, we just need to see your final concept.
Yeah,
so.
and I just need the go-ahead so that when I go on to the
Contingent approval on
Titanic
review
Historical
of the
Site and say
final
it's a
product.
go, I just need to get things
Yeah, I would
together.
move to offer continued approval for the Titanic plaque or memorial
Yeah.
in Drake Park, contingent on final draft to the city commission via our city process.
Support. Motion to support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad I didn't pass out.
You did great. Request for guardrail for James Kane. I think this is on you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Kane is here in the audience. You want to come up, Jim? He approached me a couple meetings ago and asked if he could have a guardrail put across the alley, city-owned alley, near his home. I told him it was up to the board, and if he would give me a letter, that I would take it to the board. Unless I'm mistaken, Mr. Kane wants a guardrail put across the city-owned alley near his house to stop through traffic. The alley would still be accessible from each side, but it would cease to be a through fare. Is that correct, Jim?
Correct.
We've done that on other alleys also.
Didn't you do a little research, and this is not uncommon?
It has been done before. I also contacted our city attorney, and he had some reservations about it. Am I correct, Jim?
I think certainly it's within the power of the commission to do this. My only observation was that I think the city engineer ought to be involved in making sure that we've got this in the right spot. We're all familiar, it's not been too long since we talked about the vacation of High Street near Bell River. I think that it's important that we get that right if it's the commission's decision. And additionally, it may be worth a discussion with some of the neighbors in the area as well. Certainly, Mr. Kane, feels strongly enough to author a letter and appear here at the commission on this. I don't know if there will be other people in the neighborhood that might be in opposition to his suggestion, but it might be worth knowing that before the commission were to...
What would be the proper way to do that? Send out notices or have a public hearing on the subject?
Potentially, sure.
Commissioner Hendrick?
I know they did one off of South Third between that and M29 by us because people used to bypass the traffic light and there was like 100 cars a day going through that alley. So that gentleman asked for that, and at the time, they just put it at the end. They did talk to all the property owners. Everybody was fine with it as long as they could still all access their property. And as long as that happened, that's been in there probably 15, almost 20 years, and never had a problem with that one. But they did try to situate it right just so that it wouldn't be a problem. And it's worked real well. It saved that whole neighborhood. But now in his case, you have some vacant lots where if somebody wanted to, they could drive right around it,
Yeah.
you know, because it's all vacant.
I mean, West End is the only person that needs to use the alley. He's the second house in. He's the only one that uses the alley. All the way through. And he's come through there, and I've seen where he's not slowed down, and my grandson's been out there playing. He might have a little consideration, but not a whole lot.
Does he use the alley to access his garage, Mr. Kane?
Hmm?
Does he use the alley to access his garage?
From the other end. But then he comes in on my end and blocks the whole alley shut with people coming over and he's having parties and they're all in on the Dairy Queen lot, they're all over the place.
Well, I believe that we should probably give the, anybody within, what's an appropriate distance, 300 feet of that alley, the opportunity with a notification at least, before we make a decision. I mean, that'd be my recommendation.
Yes.
Commissioner Avery?
Could we just put it on a meeting agenda that it is for public discussion rather than have a separate meeting?
Wouldn't it be more?
I'm not talking about a separate meeting. You could have a public hearing during a regular meeting, but I'm just,
Zoning Board of Appeals might be even more appropriate for something like this as well, to use that structure.
I think it would be appropriate to notify the surrounding,
The people in the alley, yeah.
yeah.
Anybody that might use it.
Well, even, typically something like this, they draw a radius of 300 feet, and you notify anybody within that radius.
And that's how it is for the planning commission on a site plan, that's pretty standard. So I think that would mirror that plan. I've had occasion to go over and look, Mr. Kane and I discussed this a few times, and when I went over there, it does appear that there's, a bit of a safety issue there with, someone that might be going there at any rate of speed. Mr. Kane and I also discussed how he's put some money into maintaining that property when people dig up the ruts, if I'm understanding you correctly and remembering our conversation, and to make it safer for himself and his family and people that might use that appropriately. And then the vehicles then tear up that work as well, and then creates an unsafe situation for his property with the gravel and whatnot flying up towards was it your garage, Mr. Kane? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but
Yeah.
I do think we should give other people in the area a
Agreed.
chance to speak on the subject.
I just have one question. Would the guardrail be behind your garage or on the side of your garage then?
It'd be on the west side of my property.
It will be on your property though, is
No,
what
it'd be
I'm
right
asking.
in the alley.
No, it would be
Block in the
across
alley.
the city-owned alley.
Right, but I mean, it's on your property, not your neighbor's.
No, it's on the city-owned property.
So, but your
It'd be on the
neighbor
lot
can
line.
go around the guardrail and go into his
Yeah, until
garage.
somebody builds something on that lot, yeah. Because it's all vacant along there.
Does he have another access, your neighbor, to get into his garage?
From the other end.
Oh, he does have
Yeah.
two ways then.
Yeah.
In other words, I don't want to prohibit, him not getting access to his garage,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. The other question I have is that, so if we support and give you the guardrail, does it come out of the general fund? How is that paid for?
Comes out.
Comes out of-
funds.
Street funds?
Street fund, yeah.
Street funds comes out of it, oh, okay. All right, I didn't know if you would,
How much would a guardrail cost, Mr.
yeah, what we
Richards?
looking at?
I don't know.
Haven't pulled one up
We haven't
lately?
bought one in a long,
I
long
haven't pulled
time.
it up in a long time. So I have no idea.
That may be a subject for Mr. Kingsley as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What about just cement barriers?
No, you can't do those anymore.
No?
No, it's illegal.
Okay.
So, does someone want to make a motion?
I would move to send this issue to the Zoning Board of Appeals to mimic our process of notifying residents within 300 feet for their input and have further discussion on the matter.
Support.
The motion and support. Any further discussion? I saw a hand go up.
Well, I was going to support, but
All right.
she's quick.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So we're going to move it to the next step and do some notifications. And then we have item 10C, Department of Public Works fee schedule amendment. I think these are all fees that we've already discussed during the budget process, correct?
Correct.
There's nothing radically new here?
I make a motion to approve the fee schedule as presented by the superintendent of the Department of Public Works.
Support.
Motion support, discussion. Anybody like a roll call on this? No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Fees have been approved. On to item 11A, disbursements including payroll.
Make a motion to approve disbursements, including payroll of $248,633.59.
Support. Motion is support, discussion on disbursements. Roll call, please.
Oh, you got a hand up.
Sorry.
Just a quick one, there was maybe somebody from the tip in here. What's the community promotion for 2700? Was that Discover the Blue or something, or 2700 from Tipper?
Where is that at? What page are you?
8.
Page 8 on the disbursement report?
Jake, meeting disbursements.
The Marine City Festival, is that what you're talking about?
No, it says community promotion, it says Tipper Board approval meeting, it just says $2,700.
Yeah, that's for Marine City Festival.
Oh, okay.
They've approved to provide funding for Marine City Festival
Okay.
for their advertising.
Okay, just wondered what it was.
Anything else? Now, do we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Lovett,
Yes.
Commissioner Melly,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Targic,
Yes.
Commissioner Avery,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to item 11B, budget amendments. This is why our treasurer is here tonight.
As you can see, there was a lot of stuff on this thing. This is the final budget amendment for the year. Obviously, this is the last meeting. This is usually what typically I always do. I don't go into detail, as you can see in the support documentation. I don't go into detail. It's just stuff that I've come across. If you look at on the resolution, the second page of the resolution, it'll show general fund. You'll show that the budget has been amended to go from a surplus of $3,800 to a deficit of $25,000. But again, I mean, some of you've been here for many years and you know that this is not usually typically how it ends up. It's just I'm trying to cover the cost of some of them that I know are going to go over. And because we do adopt the budget by department, so I only have to be concerned with the department total, not the individual accounts. But I have to make sure that that department doesn't go over according to the Budget Act. So that's in the general fund. In the street fund, in the major street fund, it dropped about $4,000. Again, these were just to cover some expenses, which I'm going to go over with you briefly in the explanations. Actually, the local street fund improved in the deficit compared to the adopted budget. And then in the water sewer fund, we did expect a $71,000 surplus, but after I've done everything, it's dropped down to $41,000, so there was like $30,000 that it dropped. So if we want to continue on and go after the signature page, it just goes over briefly some of the changes that I have made. very first one is your general fund revenues. The major change here is your facade program. There was nothing budgeted. There was a contribution that we received from the grant, and then the local source would be the applicant's contribution to the facade program. So these are the these are the monies coming in, and then that's mainly the major change there. Under city commission, that would have been for your tablets, that $3,350, that's where that's coming from. Under the city manager, I did various changes, as you can see there. This includes the city manager search. It also includes if the background check, he needs additional items for the background check, and then any travel expense for the applicants. That's where these major changes are coming from. I adjusted the wages between the full-time and part-time, and that was for the interim city manager. That's what the part-time wages are. Under legal and professional, as you can see there, we've had to get a lot more legal services than what we had planned on, but some of that's with the PA 33 there that took a lot of our legal services, and now Mr. Downing is also coming to the meetings as well, which we hadn't included that in the past either. Mine is service charges. I mean, I have no control over that. That's, you know, again, the point and pay, it can be part of that, and also can be some of the service charges that we receive from the banking, because we use so many services from the banking, and it's for protection of the city funds, a lot of those services that I do have that we are paying for. Buildings and grounds, contractual services, this is mainly Comcast. That's why that's increased, and if you were to look at the cable TV franchise fee, I also increased that for the same amount, so it's just an offset in the revenue. The equipment lease, we did get a different postage machine and sorter, and that's incorporated into some of the additional expense there in the equipment lease. Watershed Council, they've been having more active participation in this, so that's why there's some changes there. Not much, but that's the explanation there. In the police department, I increased the salvage vehicle inspection fee because on the revenue side it was also increased based on what we had budgeted at the time. The other item was the contractual services, and that's due to the Clements that they are now using, so I had to increase it for that. That wasn't considered during the process when we were doing the budget. Under inspections, we did hire a code enforcer, and that part of the wages, his is a little bit more than what we had anticipated, even with reduction in the building inspector's wages. It still was a little bit higher. Refuse, that's just an offset from the revenue that we receive. There was a reduction in that, and the reason for that is lately, which is on the good side, with the fuel costs going down, we're not paying that fuel surcharge, so we're actually getting credits, which is a good thing, because in the past, it was the other way around. Under Parks and Beach, that was that project that we had at, we received the monies and it was for the playground. It was for the playground equipment, and we had it in last year's budget because we thought we were going to be done with it, and it actually didn't get completed until this year. So that's why there's that increase of $32,000. That was the balance of that playground equipment. The special projects, I explained to you about the facade program. This is the offsetting expense to those revenues, and the rental rehab is just part of an expense that fell into this fiscal year that actually was from some projects that were from the prior fiscal year. So that covers the explanation for general fund. Under the next item is the major street fund expenditures. Again, it was a carryover of the Laboon Bridge expenses. We thought that project would be done. It wasn't completely done. We had a few extra expenses at the very beginning of the fiscal year. And then equipment maintenance was street sweeping. It was for the sweeper. You know, we had only anticipated $300, but then there was like brooms and repairs that you had to do to the sweeper that incorporated that increase in there. Next is your local street revenue. These are additional funds that we have received. They are state funds for Act 252 Road Fund that we can use in the, it was just additional funding that the state had that they provided to us that we are using. And the other item is under expenditures is your routine repairs, or general repairs and routine maintenance. And this is, Mike had been doing some of the, if you see like the ceiling along the, in the roads, and we also did a lot of road patching. And that's where we use these state act, these Act 252 road fund monies, and it could be used as long as it's used in the streets, you can use it there. So when we had all those water main breaks from the previous fiscal year, they used that money to take care of patching up the road in both local and major. And then again, the same explanation on the street sweeper because it's split between major and local, those expenses. The last is your water and sewer fund, that we have that SAW grant, which we did not have when we adopted this budget. We weren't aware of that SAW grant at the time. So this is the revenue coming in, and this is again going to be split between this year and next year. And I did just file for reimbursement for all the expenses that we've incurred year to date. So this is what I'm estimating we should be receiving. We're going to, I think, get like 40,000. I just got notification today. I have to file this information with the state to get reimbursed. And we received 90% of our expense. And I sent them all that, so apparently I'm doing the right thing because it went, the first time I filed it and it went through really well. So now I know the procedure. Under your water sewer fund expenditures, under retirement, this was due to this is where the clerk, city manager department, and my department falls into this, but retirement would be only in the clerk's department and also in the city manager's department, because in my department it's done as an overall, as defined benefit. These are the defined contribution amounts. And then office supply, we had to purchase, it's in my notes here, we purchased, I think that's for the new computer that we had to get for downstairs in the basement, because remember during budget talks I had mentioned that our backup computer went. This is the expense, water and sewer funds expense for that. The system maintenance, these mainly in here, is all your SAW grant expenses. That's why that was increased. The wastewater treatment plant, the treatment supply, equipment maintenance, natural gas, all of those are just driven through Tetra Tech. I will tell you that Mike's has gotten very involved with Tetra Tech on the expenditures, because we get billed for the labor, but they also bill us for our operating supplies and any repairs and so forth. And he has questioned that, and he found some discrepancies, so he has met with Ken Kingsley and they're reviewing that. So I just wanted to really commend Mike, because he's taken a very, important step in trying to control our expenses in that respect. In the past, we never got a copy of the bills. Once he took over, he requested a copy of each one of those bills, and he's found some issues, and he's met with Ken Kingsley on that. Under general administrative, it kind of echoes what I said up in the wastewater treatment plant. In water plant, it's the same thing. It's equipment maintenance and natural gas. Again, this is just items that were underestimated. And then under capital outlay at the wastewater treatment plant, there was that sludge pump replacement, $12,550 that wasn't budgeted, and then the water monitoring equipment that was purchased. But you have to understand that that water monitoring equipment is also offset by designated funds on everybody's water and sewer bill. There is that fee that you pay. Those funds are designated to be used for any type of purchase, and that's what this was for some computer equipment at the water plant was what they used that for. So, any questions?
Why was I know we had a cold winter. But we had a cold winter the year before. Why was the natural gas up so high?
He's reviewing that too. We used to directly be involved with Semco Energy, okay? Then John Gaber went and a few years ago went to Choice is it Choice Services or Choice Energy? Choice Energy or something. And it is run out of actually Blue Water Fuel Management, which is over on King Road, which is Foster Blue Water Oil. And Mike recently was reviewing those accounts, and him and I are going to sit down, and he's worked really hard on that too, trying to control expenses. And we're going to see if it's worth it. Because what happens is that when we went into the contract, you know, the Semco was way up there, and they said, okay, you have like a set usage, and if you didn't go over that, then, you know, you wouldn't get a surcharge, but if you do go over it, then they're gonna surcharge it. Well, after reviewing them, Mike found, it was through Semco that gave you that information. You can get up and talk if you want to, you did the research. But after reviewing it, they gave us like a comparison between what Semco charges and Choice. So we're gonna sit down within the next week, him and I, and decide, should we go back to Semco? And looking at the data, it almost looks like we should. Because yes, at times it was higher, but when, like right now, in the last several months, it's been higher that we're paying through Choice, and Semco's really dropped.
At the time John entered the contract, the Simcoe was exceptionally
It's
high.
high, yes.
But we entered this contract at 41 cents per unit, and now Simcoe is 31 cents per unit, 10 cents cheaper. And last year, they never went above 38 cents a unit. Is that correct, Mike? So if we want to make sure that gas prices are stabilized before we end our
Make a
contract.
rash decision.
But if the projection is that gas prices will be stabilized, we are losing money by utilizing this third-party administrated gas provider that caps your fee.
I dropped the choice program
Well,
myself this year.
when
so-
I talked to them at Semco told them the same thing. He said a lot of the customers that went to Choice are coming back to Semco. So,
Yeah, this year was a bad choice, right?
I mean, when it first started, he's right, it was to our advantage, but now it's not to our advantage anymore.
Any other questions?
No?
Then this is just one resolution, right, for all
Yes.
these transfers? Someone want to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 011-2015 to amend the fiscal year 2014-15 budget to adjust for changes in anticipated revenues and expenditures.
Support.
motion and support? Any discussions? I believe this requires a roll call. We're not spending, we're just moving money. Or is this a roll call vote?
I don't think in the past they did it as a roll call.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfers have been made. Now, was that, we still got C, right?
Yeah, you have to do all the other ones. These are fund transfer resolutions, and they're built into the budget where you have approved during the budget process to move funds from one fund to the other. And unless you have questions, I'm not going to go over them. It details right on your cover sheet what each one of them are. However, they're each a separate resolution, so unfortunately, you're going to have to approve each one individually.
So we have 6.
Make a resolution to approve resolution number 014-2015, fund transfer from water sewer fund to special assessment fund.
Support.
Have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? On to transfer number 2.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 015-2015 to approve the fund transfer from cemetery trust fund to cemetery fund.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Moving on to fund transfer number 3.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 016-2015 to approve the fund transfer from general fund to cemetery fund.
Support.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 4.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 017-2015, fund transfer from general fund to major street fund.
Support.
Don't get tired on us. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Number 5.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 018-2015, fund transfer from general fund to local street fund.
Support.
Yes, quicker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Last one.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 019-2015, the fund transfer from general fund to local street fund.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was hard work. On to item 11D, which is designation of funds resolutions.
This was, you just did the fund transfer from the county road tax millage into those street funds. And we're designating them in this fiscal year because they're going to be used to purchase that dump truck in the 15-16 budget year, along with the additional funding that you provided to do that. So these are designating the funds for the future purchase of that dump truck in the 15-16 fiscal year. And again, you have to do them one at a time.
Make a motion to approve resolution 012-2015 to designate funds in local street fund.
Motion support, discussion. This is money that's already been designated with, I don't think we need a roll call, do we? No. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on.
Motion to approve resolution number 013-2015 to designate funds in major street fund.
Motion support, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. On to item 11E, which is 2015 Summer Tax Roll Addition Resolution.
These are, first off, you guys can tell I've been very busy, haven't you? I'll be glad when this meeting's over with, because then I won't have to, my life will settle down a little bit. But this is a resolution to approve for me to put on to the tax roll based on the list. I don't see a list here.
We didn't get it, yeah.
I know, I went through it. There was a list with it.
I was going to ask about that.
I know. And that's what I've seen, I don't see the list. But it's to put on any delinquent water accounts, the water and sewer construction special assessment ones, any of those annual installments, and any delinquent property cleanup invoices on the 2015 summer tax roll. And I don't have it with me because I didn't realize it wasn't in the packet.
Well, we can't change who's delinquent, right?
No, no. It,
Can you send us an email with it?
Does anyone want to make a motion for Resolution 2015?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 0202015, special assessment for delinquent accounts related to property cleanup invoices, water sewer construction, and water sewer accounts.
Support. Motion is support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to, what was that one? That was
E.
D. So now we're on to E. Now we're on to 2015 Summer Tax Roll.
no,
That's what we just did?
preliminary financials.
Preliminary financial statements, so we're done with the resolutions.
I move to approve the preliminary financial statements as presented.
Support. Motion is support. Is there questions on the preliminary financial statements? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. City Manager's report.
Keep it short, we've got a long meeting today. Attended a meeting of the Planning Commission, we conducted building inspector interviews. Those are all done. I am just trying to wait to see how long it will take to get our new city manager. I'd like him to make, or her to make the decision as to who they're hired, but our building inspector is wanting to leave very badly. He's wanting to retire, so. I had a meeting with Dan Casey from the St. Clair County Economic Development Alliance, working on some projects with him, and hopefully I'll have something to report on the next couple of meetings on that. Attending the Tiffin meeting regarding the sirens. Sideline Electric is the company that gentleman you gave me the names worked for. Sideline Electric came out, they looked at the sirens, and there's no issue with the power to the sirens. But All Warning System out of Grand Rapids is the company that put in the radio activators for those sirens. And there is an issue. I talked to Nick Oldenkamp from this system, and he said when he was out here, he tested them, and they were a little scratchy. Perhaps moving the antennas to the outside will fix the problem. The problem here at the fire station, it will, the tone, the manual here will never work again unless there is a new interface purchased, because there's a new frequency that the signal's sent with, and they're not capable to send it with this one. We have Mike Ittrich, Joe Slankster, myself are working on this. Traditionally, Mike and I have been speaking. Traditionally, it is the fire department took care of the sirens, and we're just, Mike and I and Joe Slankster are working on who is going to look after these in the future.
I had that discussion with John a while back. They do belong to the city because they're on the city's things. It'd be no different than the townships having them. The fire authority doesn't maintain those, the townships.
So that was the change. When they went to the fire authority, they transferred to the city.
Yeah.
Okay. That answers that question.
Yeah, but he did tell me, yeah, that Homeland Security was kind of involved with that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We're having an issue with trucks on Water Street again. The trucks on Water Street are staging at the, on Water Street. We're having a breakdown since our new bridge has been put in. The issue becomes, once the trucks leave King Road and make the journey down to Water Street, once they get there, there is nowhere for them to go. They can't go back over our little bridge because of the weight limit. So there is no place to stage them once they start the journey downtown, and we are currently working on that issue. I have had several conversations with Mr. Downey, who there is a federal injunction.
1974.
1974, a permanent federal injunction against the city for enforcing traffic ordinance against the trucks trying to get across the ferry. So we are working on a solution, currently vexed as to how to get the trucks alerted that they need to stage somewhere else before they start the journey, because once they make it down there, they can't tell them to go back, because there's no way back that they can turn those trucks and stay within a truck zone. And once they go on to Market or down by the Catholic Point, those streets aren't capable of holding those trucks. So we're working on that. It's an issue. Working with Mike Hilfinger from Strategic Communications, we're trying to appeal the loss of our mid to mod designation for citywide income to make some CDBG, or the Community Development Block Grants from the federal government, available to us again. We are so close. We lost like 1 percentage point, and that dropped us, bumped us on top of the low to moderate income range. If we can appeal that, and if they will reevaluate that for us and put us back in the low mod range, the facade grants open back up again for our downtown, as well as several other CDBG funds. So we're working on that. What the outcome is anybody's guess. The board asked me last time to look into the issue of the patrol car responding to the other patrol car accident. I have looked into the incident. No video exists of the incident, but I've listened to the dispatch tapes, and the officer was interviewed. The response was, with both emergency lights and siren activated, the officer did not violate department policy nor state law. We had a talk with the officer, and it was stressed to the officer the need for safety during responding to incidents, and he agrees. Mike Ittrich is working with Strategic Communications on a LED light project for the city, changing every light that the city uses to an LED light bulb. There are refunds that Detroit Edison will give us, and if we can move this project through, and Mike has done a tremendous amount of work on it, and if we can get this to go, we're looking at tens of thousands of dollars of savings in just our electricity used to light the city, the parking lot lights, the lights in here, every light in the city would go to LED. There is grants for that and rebates for from Detroit Edison just for lowering our carbon footprint. So that's something that I'm pretty excited about. We're looking at a lot of savings if we can get this through, and Mike has been traveling around the city writing down light bulb numbers for a couple of weeks. Mike.
Isn't that for the streetlights too?
Street lights as well. The street lights would revert to LED as well. Every light bulb that the city pays to light would revert to be converted to LED. And that's all I have today.
Commissioner Avery?
I have a question for Ron Tillery. At a recent meeting, you mentioned that there had been water damage in the basement of the Guy Center.
Yes.
And that you were looking into something. I'm just curious because I remember that, and then the mold.
We've sent out RFQs for the request for quotes for someone to come in. The first step is to just tell us what damage is there, is what kind of mold is there. And once we know what damage exists, there's two types of damage. Number one is just the presence of mold that we could mitigate probably cheaper if it wasn't for the second issue, hundreds of years worth of historical documents and city records in the basement. So it is, we've put out RFQs, we received one, I think we received one back, and that's simply to say, you've got a mold problem and this is what type of mold it is, or this is what type of mold it is, not really a problem, brush it off and see what we can do. I doubt that'll be the answer, but we're waiting for more quotes to come in. It's very difficult to find the appropriate contractors to do these historical records and to interface with them while they're looking at cleaning up mold.
Were you able to contact the insurance company?
Not yet, not yet. I'd like to know what's down there.
The second thing too is, have you talked to the state about an archive thing? They have a whole program for that?
We have, who did we talk about archives?
The county clerk's office.
We started with the county clerk's office. They had archivers come in.
Oh, there's a whole state website for how they'll help you and
There is a state archivist. I don't know what cost that is. We started at the county, where we'll make the natural progression to the
They
state
have
and look
some-
at them as well.
they've got a huge site for archiving, and we fall into getting discounts going through them, and they'll send people out to evaluate it as part of the deal and all. So you might want to look at the state archive system. They have a lot of information on their website.
Okay, I'll look at that.
Can I ask
Commissioner,
Don a
yep, go
question?
ahead, Commissioner Mallon.
Yeah, Don, you mentioned about the truck problem on Water Street. Didn't Mr. Gaver have a dispatch for the trucks stood at British Petroleum until there was a timing fashion, so there wasn't a backup? I thought that was...
There's a
taken
procedure
care
in
of.
place where the trucks can stage at Selective Industries on, I think it's 6100 King Road. But normally what occurred was they would come down into the downtown area, the ferry would see them lined up, they would get on a CB and say, go stage up there, we've got a spot, we'll call you. That was with the old bridge. Now that the new bridge is put in it, they can't go back. Once they get downtown, they can't leave to go back and stage because none of the roads or the bridge will allow the weight of the trucks to go over them. And we're talking lots of tanker trucks, heavy trucks. And so that's become an issue. There's some issue that the ferry operator could be proactive, I guess, and to send out CB radio signals. I'm not sure where that's breaking down. But yes, the Selective Industries where there was staging. The problem is out of town, or if they happen to not have their radio up, once they make the turn, they're committed. That's the issue that we're dealing with. Everything else can be worked out once we figure out what to do with these trucks. Once they make the turn, they're committed. There's nowhere for them to go except onto the ferry. So
This comes up like every couple
About every
years.
10 years.
No, sooner than that.
They're working on the span of the bridge, so
Yeah.
the traffic is
Anytime
backed up
something
up
happens
there.
up the bridge and they all head down here and
Yes,
Yeah.
Did the old bridge have a different weight rating, or was it just sort of ignored because it was an older bridge?
yes.
Okay.
Big
And it was being
flashing sign,
replaced.
all trucks must stop here.
Yeah, it was being replaced, and it was
I
just,
think you also mentioned that the ferry operator wasn't cooperating with the CV anymore.
there's no notifications going out from the ferry operator to the truck drivers.
So even if
And
they received instructions to go park, nobody's gonna,
they couldn't get there.
yeah.
Well, you talked to Tifa, at the Tifa meeting, Bob Lepley brought up that he wanted to retain the services of some sort of civil engineering firm to see if there is something in our streets, the makeup of our streets, where we could deal with this, along with the parking issues that we have ongoing in the city. And is there an issue we're overlooking? Is there a way to route these trucks that we're not seeing? And the
Did you
Tifa
ask-
board
did you
will
ask
work
Bob
on that.
Blanchard?
Pardon?
Yes, Bob Blanchard, tap him for any info.
We talked to Bob about the parking problem. Last I talked to Bob, he was willing to help out. He didn't have a cat.
Yeah,
He
but I
didn't-
just wondered if he, you know, he's pretty sharp on all that stuff. I wondered if even in that case he might.
He
have
is. I
some
talked to Bob
ideas.
about the parking, and he had some really great ideas. He didn't have access to CAD at that time, and that's really what we need is some CAD.
No, but I mean about the trucks.
No, I haven't talked about the trucks. Maybe I'll give him a call.
Yeah, he might, you know. He always comes up with something sometimes.
Yeah.
Mr. Turner over here.
Commissioner Avery?
It appears that the truck problem is going to be ours, one way or the other, to solve. We bring them in, we can't build a turnaround, so we have to do something with it. The system of using the ferry as a dispatch is probably the best way to go, and we might want to propose some kind of funding so that they really do it, rather than just expecting out of their generosity that they will keep us informed. I don't know, but it looks like the best way right now, since we have a place to put the trucks.
A lot of bridges have, if you turn into an AM station, it indicates turn into AM channel whatever, and there's a message, whether it be an emergency message or something like that, through an FM transmitter. So if we had a sign that, you know, coming down 26 Mile Road, all ferry traffic, please tune to whatever, perhaps that's something we might explore. I have no idea what the cost is, but it seems
That's
to
a
be
really good
effective
idea,
in
though. I've
those.
seen
So
those. Yes.
at least that's a way to, you know, proactively engage them on a long, straight drive that's probably relatively safe for them, to establish information. And then that's just usually a repeater. It repeats the same message that, you know, someone can alter, whether it be the ferry's responsibility or someone at city, potentially a solution that might work for us. I have no idea the cost, but
Definitely up that end is the way to go. When we originally looked at this, it was just simply, I thought, a breakdown of the ferry not getting the word out. But the issue, when you look into it, is really, once they leave King, once they commit to that turn, it's done. So we need to work up on that end, and maybe some signage and a radio transmitter, or Chris out there with the flag, something. Something.
because we had the water tower, so you'd have line of sight for a transmitter.
I'll call the owner of the ferry company.
Okay.
We, you know, struck up a relationship over the muffler incident, so maybe he'll,
Maybe he's got some
maybe he'll
ideas.
cooperate with me since I made some calls for him. All right, we're gonna move on, because we still got a lot of meeting left here. So we're gonna go to commissioner privilege, and I'm gonna start over here.
Okay, a couple things I want to say is I commend the people. You've been keeping up on your grass cutting because of all this rain we've been having. It's really a delight to see people taking charge of their properties. And the other thing is, we won't be having another meeting, so I want everybody to have a safe 4th of July and enjoy family. Thank you.
Again, 4th of July, don't forget that Praise Church is having down at the park on the 4th, and everyone's certainly invited I want to thank the acting city manager for all the work and continuity of service that he's given to our community. Things have moved forward, he's found additional grants, et cetera, and that's been a great service for us. Thank you. Also, thank you to everyone who stepped forward to serve on the commissions. There are still many openings. We hope that others will take some civic responsibility and join one of those committees. Safe routes to school, I have been working on with Mr. Simpson and several other people in the community. It is a process in which the schools have been participating, Holy Cross, Bell River Elementary, and Marine City Middle School. They've done surveys of their parents to see what their thoughts are on approaches, children being able to walk to school or bike to school. The teachers did surveys on how students got to school. Those have been completed, and we're working on walking audit routes right now, looking at the infrastructure within the city, what's good, what's not. The DPW superintendent, Mr. Ittrich, is also working with us. In fact, we are going to be heading up one of the walks this Monday morning at 8:30. We're going to meet at the DPW and walk down toward let's see, Parker to Chartier and up around to, see what routes are. I don't know if you realize that children are not allowed to ride the bike or walk to the elementary school because there is no safe way there. You've seen the gentleman in the wheelchair riding down the middle of the street because there is no sidewalk out there. Children, students from Shangri-La, they do not have a route that connects to the school. If you've ever watched middle school and high school empty, they're all crossing the street there on Parker at Ward. And it's a very dangerous situation. Very, very few people stop for those crosswalks. And so those are some of the things we're looking at. I walked with Holy Cross on Wednesday morning, the principal and a parent and 3 students. We walked down Water Street and across we crossed back over to Main Street down by the beach and came back up, and we found several issues, and I brought them to. Some can be corrected already, other issues we want to look at down the road, but just to be safe. I talked to a parent at Bell River Elementary, and he said they would love to ride a bike to school. They would love to walk to school. We want to get people out, students out, children out, exercising, walking, being fit. There are grant monies available through this program, which would fund some infrastructure work. It would also fund some training. They sponsor helmets for all the children if they're having a bike to school day, et cetera. So basically, I'm asking for help. We're having trouble getting a group of people together, so I'm just taking like a group at a time in a section of the city. But we need volunteers. We need to know that the community is involved before they're willing to look at grants for us. For example, we may want some better crossing there at Parker and Ward. That's something that MDOT may fund after all the times they have denied us a light there. Perhaps after the study, they might change their mind. There is power in getting together. So my phone number is on our website, the city website, so please call if you're interested in helping or contact me anytime, Mr. Simpson, and anybody else that's interested. We are looking for that. Again, I think it's positive that we're moving forward. Just want to remind you that our new budget with the PA 33, we are looking at setting money aside in the future in designated accounts that we can pay for things as they break and as they go down. Because remember that if we do nothing at all, it's going to cost us a lot more in the long run. If you have a small hole in a dike and you don't fix it right away, pretty soon you have a big hole. And that is what will happen to our city if we don't continue to move forward. So thank you to those who have supported that. Have a great 4th.
Mr. Hendrick.
you know, there used to be a light there, MDOT took that one out at Ward Street years ago.
I
It's been a
know, well, we're
controversy
gonna
for a long time.
work
They
at
won't-
getting it back. We need something there.
All right, well, I'm on stoplights. We're finally getting some resolution in the one on Warren Street, but I'm also gonna have the guy look at the one down at Chartier. I don't know if anybody else, I've run into it a few times. Last week, about a week ago, there was a 11-car backup coming into town. The light changed, or it wouldn't change for them, there was no cars. People started running it. So what happened is, Jackie Owens and one of my other neighbors, Pat Sweet, they found the guy in town that deals with the sensors. So they talked to him, and he came over and took a look at him, and I also talked to the guy from MDOT. He thinks he's got some of the sensors fixed because it was an intermittent thing. There's 4 sensors there. If it doesn't pick it up right, a couple times I've come in, you come up, and it runs through cycle after cycle after cycle, and it never changes, and there's no cars on M29. So this one's been worse because I come in this one, but I know that one's doing the same thing. So anyway, if people are getting still more complaints or they still see that it's doing that, let me know. And the guy from MDOT will send out a whole crew, but luckily we did have a gentleman in town that works for him, and he did go over and take a look for us and try to reset some of that stuff. So we're making some progress on that. One thing is, I know 4th of July is coming up, and the fireworks issue is going to come up again. One thing you have to remember, don't light them off in the street. They have to be in either in your yard or in a safe location. A lot of the areas we have, the houses are tight. Have some consideration for your neighbors. Don't light them off for 2 hours at a time. I know we had a lot of issues last year, but let's not burn anybody's house down or garage down, or take some consideration for the elderly people with all the noise and that, and let's try to be safe with the fireworks. And the last thing I got is, what's going on with the second half of the streetscape on Broadway there? I mean, I saw somebody come in and mow it all down. What's going on?
They gave up on it, because I told them either to clean it up or taking it out. So they came in and cleaned it up, and wanted me to mulch the whole thing and redo it next year. Because they let it go, nobody's taking care of it. The grass was 12 inches high, 14 inches high for the grade.
Well, I agree, but I mean, like next year, maybe we ought to start looking at something that's a little bit more maintainable than just throwing more stuff in there.
Well, that's.
I mean, it's something to look at.
Maintain it.
Yeah.
I'm going to maintain it. I'm going to put.
Well, that's why I realized what's in there was terribly hard to maintain. So I think if that's the thing, and we're going to look at it for next year, then I think we need to evaluate whether, that thing should be full like it was before, because it's.
Well, that's the garden club. They put their own money into that place. It doesn't cost us nothing. So they got lost this year. They lost some people. They're going to come back up, and we take care of it. So they promised me next year they will. They don't. It's all coming out and grass is going in.
Okay. Let's see, is that the last thing? I think, and that's it.
I would like to remind citizens and visitors to town that we must leave sidewalks open for people to walk, and certainly motorized chairs to get through these areas. I happen to see down near my building that we have this problem because you can only get across the bridge there on Broadway from 2 areas. So it's not a case of every sidewalk being bad, it's that we get problems right down there and it blocks the area. So hopefully people will pay more attention to that, otherwise we'll have to look for enforcement. We had problems in the winter with snow along there too, but of course that's gone now. So, and the last thing is we are going to honor the 4th of July celebration, which is noting our independence as a free nation. We should be very thankful for that.
I want to welcome Grace Production Services. It's a second meeting in a row that we've had a new business license application in front of us. I think that's a great thing. I think it speaks to what we're doing as a city, and it's just great to see. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Klingler owns that building, has done actually quite a bit through his Trident Industries of trying to develop and make those properties viable for smaller businesses and even mid-sized businesses. So he's a bit of an unsung hero in that situation as well. He was quite instrumental in getting that group. So thank you to him as well. A while back, to the March meeting, when I went to the training in the Metropolitan Planning Commission of the county, I mentioned how Port Huron had dealt with blight issues with fix-it tickets, and I think that's something that we should look at on a future agenda, maybe not too far away. We were increasing hours of blight enforcement, and I think that really streamlined their process, and now that we've gotten through some potential issues or finishing up some bigger issues, I think that this is a good time of year to be looking at those things and discussing that. And it would be that they gave you a fix-it ticket on your first offense there, and you had a finite amount of time to fix it, and you didn't have to pay that fine. But they really spoke to how that streamlined their process. We've heard this year that this is a real concern for people in our community, and I would like to see us maybe at least chat about that and how we might use something like that to streamline our process in the very near future. And being that this is the last meeting beforehand, I just want to remind everyone that Marine City Music Festival is July 10th and 11th on Marine City Beach. Want everyone to come out and have a great time. Starts at 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Both nights, rain or shine. So hope everyone comes out and enjoy a fun weekend in the city.
You guys sure covered it. It's not much. I agree with just about everything that was said here, so. On top of that, in regards to your fix-it tickets, Marine City is one of only two cities in the county whose property values have not recovered yet. And a lot of that has to do with curb appeal and different things. If you walk around the city, you're going to see some very nice homes, very well taken care of, and then you're going to see properties that aren't very well taken care of. So if we all take care of our properties, that's landlords, owners, everybody, we will increase the property value of every lot in the city. And to that goal, there's some opportunities to the Historical Society right now to get discounts or money toward paint, and they got the new gingerbread program, so there's some assistance out there for you. If you don't really have the funds, there's help out there to help you spruce up your property. Dog owners, if you take your dog for a walk, he's gonna poop. I mean, it's almost a given. So to go for a walk with your dog and not have something in your pocket to pick it up is just irresponsible and disrespectful to the rest of the people in this community. And I see it time and time again. So please bring something with you and clean up after your dog. It's just not good to have all that laying around in our parks. So, happy 4th of July. The Streetscape volunteers, thank you very much for what you did. I know they had a tough time this year. For years, they've been out there pulling weeds, but they have fewer and fewer volunteers. So if you want to help out in the city, that's one group to contact, because they're always looking for people to help maintain things around here. And with that said, I'm going to make a motion to enter into closed session at, what is the time, 8:52?
Support.
Have support. We're going to have to ask everyone to leave. Doors will be locked. Upon the end of closed session, we may or may not conduct any business. You are welcome to return once we are out of closed session.
You need to say why we're going in.
We're going into closed session for union contract negotiations, discussions of confidential attorney-client communications, and executive session minutes. And we need a roll call vote.
We need Commissioner Simpson.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Mayor Skatarski.
Yes.
Commissioner Avery.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yep.
Commissioner Lovett.
Yes.
Commissioner Melly.
Yes.
Carried.
They used to give me a cheat sheet, but they don't do that anymore.